Hello Nigeria, welcome to Newsline this Sunday night. I am Becky Madujimo. Our first segment features a man who has been in the news this past week because he swapped a hefty gift for something even the giver did not see coming. We'll have you realigning your priorities in general when you watch that one. Other magnanimous gestures on the program include free surgeries for a group of women who suffered from an avoidable condition, and the quintuplets from last week now have a benefactor. Apart from ceremonies celebrating distinguished personalities, official lovers, and innovative products, we have that viral story about the 6-year-old boy who was declared missing and later found dead in a deep freezer. Very shocking tragedy. We have talked that one in the final segment. Before we start dropping our stories back to back, let's begin with the news of the day. Over to Claire Adilabu Abdurazak. Happy Sunday, Claire.
Happy Sunday to you, Becky, and a must-watch package you've got there. But let's begin the news from Beijing, where the Second Belt and Road Initiative BRI Forum for Cooperation has ended after Chinese President Xi Jinping met with the leaders at a round table to agree on the framework for cooperation before the next forum in 2 years. The leaders reached consensus on cooperation, identified priorities and mechanisms for the Belt and Road. Juliet Aino reports.
The Chinese capital Beijing is almost back to normal as most delegates have ended their sessions at the BRI Forum and started departing the city. The leaders, on the other hand, got busy at a round table to chart the next course of action for high-quality development of the Belt and Road Initiative. The Leaders' Summit, which was chaired by Chinese President Xi Jinping, was held at the Yanqi Lake International Convention Exhibition Center. President Xi stressed the importance of connectivity in promoting growth among countries on the Belt and Road. Nigerian ambassador to China, Baba Ahmad Jida, sees it as an opportunity Nigeria should make the most of.
This is an additional source of funding to African countries. It provides more funds than even the Forum for China-Africa Cooperation. So it is a development that is positive.
He assured that the BRI presents more opportunities for speedy development of the country, adding that the presence of Minister of Finance Zainab Ahmed, Minister of Transportation Rotimi Amechi, and DGNTA Yakubu Ibi Mohammed was greatly appreciated by the Chinese leadership. The ambassador, who had earlier received the ministers at the embassy, also played host to DGNTA at the mission after the forum, where he commended the Nigerian Television Authority for what he called an excellent coverage of the 2019 general elections. From Beijing, China, Julieta Aino, NTA News.
And back home, the Association of National Accountants of Nigeria has pledged to collaborate with the federal government in the fight against corruption and strengthen transparency both in the private and public sectors. This was at investiture of the new president as the association seeks better understanding among professional accounting bodies. Joy Uzo tells us more.
With contributions to the advancement of the nation in the past 4 decades, ANAN has become a global brand affiliated to Pan-African Federation Accountants, the Edibon Group, and other globally recognized accounting organizations. ANAN, among other things, is committed to building strong institutions for development, and this the outgone president pursued, and he is proud to bequeath an association guided by principles to an achiever, Professor Muhammad Mainoma, with vast experience.
The modest achievement recorded in the last 2 years is a clear testimony of the team spirit and full cooperation I got from my colleagues in the council.
For Professor Mainoma, he is confident that the accounting profession in Nigeria is enjoying the support of government, principally in the fight against corruption, and will not compromise on its mandate, especially in the areas of probity.
It means we are going to work together closely to ensure that all the preventive mechanisms are put in place so that people find it very difficult to even steal in the first place. We are not just interested in recovering what was looted, but we want to make it impossible for people to loot the treasury.
My accounting background has helped me a lot in the investigation of financial crimes and fraud-related cases.
As professional accountants, we have the moral and professional responsibilities to contribute significantly to the growth and development of our country.
The whistle-blowing policy of the federal government is one of the key activities of ANAN.
Aspects of the event were the unveiling of new logos for ANAN and Nigerian College of Accountancy to symbolize renewed commitment to the accounting profession. In Abuja, I'm Joy Uzo, NTA News.
And the Presidential Committee Against Corruption is collaborating with the National Orientation Agency to rid the country of corrupt practices. In this regard, a meeting of key players was convened by the committee and agency in Lokoja. Austin Anyebe reports.
It has been established that one thing that has undermined development in Nigeria is corruption. Hence, the present administration of President Muhammadu Buhari, upon assumption of office in 2015, made the fight against corruption as a cardinal objective.
Until we all accept that the fight against corruption is personal, it's me, I have to stop whatever I do that I know is corruption.
To fight what is described as a monster, several strategies were mapped out, not only to fight corruption, but also sensitizing the citizenry about the consequences of indulging in corrupt practices, of which the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption is in the forefront.
It is in this regard we feel fighting corruption requires the reorientation of our values.
In a lecture on value reorientation and fight against corruption by Chief Femi Ajisafe, he stressed the need for Nigerians to imbibe the core values, which include loyalty, honesty, reliability.
The government instituted an alternative means of obtaining loans and ensure that these loans, this means follow the necessary procedures. Of course, no one would now look at those things.
Kogi State government, represented by the Director General Bureau of Information and Grassroots Mobilization, Abdulmalik Abkarin, said the program by the Presidential Advisory Committee Against Corruption will go a long way to sensitizing people at the grassroots against the societal ills. NOAA is expected to drive the program at the rural areas. In Lokoja, Amos Danyebe, NT News.
And a fire outbreak has occurred at the Apple transmission station here in Abuja. Although the fire has been brought under control, authorities of the Abuja Electricity Distribution Company say that preliminary investigations revealed that a 45 MVA transformer was lost to the fire. The technical team of the distribution company is currently working with engineers at the Transmission Company of Nigeria, TCN, on how to absorb the load on the 45 MVA transformers that was affected by the fire. And no casualty was recorded in the fire incident which affected 2 IDP camps located in Gajigana town in Ganza local government in northern Borno. However, more than 181 structures providing shelter for more than 140 households were destroyed by the fire. The Northeast Office of the National Emergency Management Agency says the fire occurred at 10:30 in the morning and affected Flatiron Gono camps. Early containment of the fire, however, minimized the damage. And internally displaced persons in Niger State have commended the federal government's efforts towards ameliorating their challenges in the camps. They stated this during the presentation of relief materials worth millions of naira by the National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons in Mina. Mukhtar Abubakar reports.
The Federal Commissioner, National Commission for Refugees, Migrants and Internally Displaced Persons, Sadia Umar Farouk, represented at the symbolic presentation of the relief items, says the intervention is meant to give the necessary support needed by the IDPs to address some of their challenges. The relief materials donated to the IDPs are building materials, foodstuff, and other non-food items.
So basically, our major concern when it comes to IDPs is how to bring them back to normal livelihood. We also try to give them support in terms of psychosocial therapy.
We have a system in place, a system of distribution that we usually look at the basic needs, these IDP needs.
The representatives of the internally displaced persons affected by flood and banditry attacks in the state lauded the efforts of the federal government for making them feel at home, even though at IDPs camps.
So I thank God to the federal government. I'm very happy today.
Extend my appreciation to the president. We are very grateful.
Niger State has 3 formal camps with over 4,000 internally displaced persons. In Mina, Mukhtar Abubakar, NTA News.
And troops of Operation Sarabin Kunama 3rd and the Raminkia have neutralized 4 armed bandits and arrested 7 suspected informants in Zamfara State. Now, the suspects, including Vice Chairman, Anka Local Government Council, have been handed over to the police for further interrogation. Jamilu Ibrahim tells us more.
With the launching of the Operation Harbin Kunama 3 on 1st April 2019, additional troops were injected to dominate the theater of the various military operations aimed at ending the activities of armed bandits in Zamfara, Kebbi, Sokoto, and Katsina states.
A total number of 4 bandits were neutralized, while 7 suspected informants and logisticians were arrested. Prominent among these categories of suspects is the Vice Chairman of Anka Local Government Area, Alhaji Yahuza Ibrahim.
The troops, acting on credible information, intercepted a vehicle conveying large quantities of food items to bandits in the bush. Exhibits recovered during the operations include assorted weapons, 28 motorcycles, as well as bags of hard drugs, Indian hemp, and local charms. While commending members of the various vigilante groups and local hunters for their support to the troops operating in their communities, the force urged all law-abiding citizens to continue to volunteer timely information to the security agencies for prompt action. In Gusau, Jamilu Ibrahim, NTA News.
And troops of Operation World Stroke deployed to counter banditry activities in the North Central have rescued 3 kidnapped victims in the family compound of an alleged notorious criminal called Ghana in Bise, Katsina Ala local government area of Benue State. A statement by the Acting Director of Defense Information, Colonel Onyema Nwachukwu, indicates that the victims rescued during a raid were reportedly abducted about 2 months ago in Boko, Benue State. Troops are still on the trail of the criminals who fled their enclave after they were overpowered. The rescued persons have been handed over to the Benue State government for medical attention before uniting them with their respective families. Similarly, troops deployed to Giza in Nasarawa State arrested a bandit during a raid on a suspected hideout at Alima near Kadako in Nasarawa State. The bandit, intercepted with a locally made rifle, is assisting with investigations. And sequel to the arrest of one Malam Salisu Abubakar, a spiritual father of kidnappers and bandits operating in the northern part of the country, police detectives attached to the Operation Pofada have successfully arrested 18 more notorious bandits. Now 22 AK-47 rifles, 5 locally fabricated pistols and a cache of live ammunition were also recovered. A statement by the Force Police Public Relations Officer, DCP Frank Mba, says the successful operation is due to the directive by Acting Inspector General of Police, Mohammed Abubakar, on tactical operations in the forests of Kaduna, Katsina, Niger, and Kogi states. The police say some of the arrested suspects have been linked to some of the recent crimes in the region and reassures Nigerians of their security at all times. And in continuation of events marking the Nigerian Air Force at 55, an interdenominational church service focusing on Thanksgiving has been held at St. Anthony of Padua Catholic Church, Nav Base in Abuja. Nachato Tijani tells us more.
in the sky. One day I will join him up in the sky. This is a song the Nigerian Air Force can identify with in its duty of securing the Nigerian airspace, and now its personnel from various denominations have come to give thanks for 55 years of serving the nation meritoriously. Readings taken from Revelations 4, Acts 5, John 20 and Psalm 21 were the cornerstone of a sermon on the significance of gratitude, where the Nigerian Air Force was likened to a joyful king who finds favor in God's sight, delivered by the chaplains of the Protestant and Catholic arms of the service.
For hours and land well. How faithful has God been? Do we have reason to appreciate God?
Various forms of praise and worship glorifying God for keeping the armed forces in the face of insurgency, banditry, and other security challenges were demonstrated by the combined choir, personnel, and members of the Nigerian Air Force Officers' Wives Association (NAFOA), with a prayer to avert any disasters in NAF operations, led by the representative of the Chief of the Air Staff and other officers.
Of course, not to mention our personnel and equipment, the many new equipment that have been inducted. I'm talking of airplanes or aircraft and other platforms.
You might say that this gathering is a demonstration of the unity which the Nigerian armed forces, including the Air Force, constantly strive to keep in their duty of defending Nigeria against insurgency, banditry, and other forms of insecurity. Najaa Tutijani, NTA News.
And that church service was held at Padua Catholic Church, I should say. Now, the organized labor has congratulated the pioneer president of Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, Comrade Hassan Adebayo Sumono, and foremost Africa industrialist Alhaji Aliko Dangote on the conferment of honorary doctorate degrees on them by the Ahmadu Bello University, ABU Zaria. In his congratulatory message to the awardees, NEC member of Nigeria Labour Congress NLC, Comrade Issa Aremu, recalled the outstanding leadership of Comrade Sumono as the founding president of Nigeria Labour Congress NLC from 1978 to 1984. These include winning the battle to make May 1st a public holiday and winning the struggle for a new minimum wage of 125 naira, that's about £240 in 1981, under President Shehu Shagari's administration. Comrade Aremu observed that Sumono sustained the unity of the trade union movement through an inclusive, ideological-driven movement. As Secretary General of the Organization of Africa Trade Unions Unity, he also ensured that the voice of Africa workers is heard and respected in the global arena. The Labour leader also said the honoring of Aliko Dangote as a leading African investor and industrialist was well deserved, given his globally acknowledged contribution to industrialization and job creation. And on a sad note, a fatal multiple accident has claimed 5 lives at the popular Jatu Junction in Auchi, Esako West local government area of Edo State this Sunday morning. The accident, which involved 6 vehicles, left several persons seriously injured. David Ira reports.
A truck loaded with cement was descending the slope from the Abuja axis with a failed brake and rammed into all the vehicles coming from the opposite direction. 3 cars, 1 bus and a tanker were smashed.
They should be called to order. They should be trained to know how to use the road. This is a very clear area, no obstruction. If their vehicles are in bad condition, they should repair them.
The residents are also worried by the slow pace of construction work on the highway around the junction, which they largely blamed for the frequent accidents in the area. It took the joint intervention of men of the Nigerian Police, Army and Federal Road Safety Corps to bring under control the situation that drew a large crowd of sympathizers. In Auchi, David Ire, NTA News.
Very sad indeed. Let's take a look at sports now. And Super Falcons camp opens in Abuja on a day Cameroon emerged under 17 AFCON champions. Amanzi Marcos has all the details.
Thank you for staying with us. Let's get into it right now. After working as gateman for 25 years, Musa Usman's employer decided to reward him with a house for his integrity and commitment. However, Usman turns down the offer and instead requested a borehole for his community in Jigawa State. Surprising choice, you would agree. Ibrahim Sani, who was at Usman's village, completes the story.
A distance of more than 200 kilometers from Dutse, the Jigawa State capital, Giljimu village is a small Fulani settlement of about 200 households whose means of livelihood is farming and cattle rearing. The community in Borneo local government of Hadeja Emirate has been surviving on funds and oil contaminated wells as their sources of getting drinking water and other domestic purposes over the years. When one of their own, Musa Usman, got employment as gateman with an Indian pharmaceutical company 25 years ago, they did not know that he will be the end of this water scarcity to the community. As fate will have it, Musa has finished his service in a meritorious way and it's time to go back home. His boss thought there is no way to thank him than a gift of house. But to the surprise of many, Musa has his community in mind more than his self-centered interest. He requested for a borehole instead as a solution to water problem to his people. For the good 25 years, Mr. Vargas spent with Musa as a committed and trustful servant. He right away accepted his request and directed for the construction of a motorized borehole to serve the village. In a brief but historic ceremony attended by top management of the company, National Leadership of Pharmaceutical Society of Nigeria, Mr. Vargas commissioned the borehole.
We also adore because of one person, and it is because the association of Mr. Musa with us. In fact, he is one of our family members and we consider him as such.
The people of Usman's community are the most happiest on this development.
We use donkeys to get water from a long distance. Our sufferings are now over. We praise God for this, and the people who did this also deserve commendation.
For Musa Usman, he is the most fulfilled person, having succeeded in serving his community in a big and unusual way, worthy of emulation. For now, Musa's story has generated a lot of interest, with his picture going around both conventional and social media for his patriotism and love for his people.
We can't help but applaud Musa for his selflessness and generous spirit. Now, she stood her ground against her husband's decision to take her children to Almajiri school far away from home. Instead, she agitated for Western education in an Islamic school within their locality. Her name is Jamila Abubakar, and she's now being celebrated following the Sharia court's decision which granted her custody of the children. From Kaduna, Abdullahi Mohammed reports.
Life can sometimes become tough for most of the children whose parents chose to send to cities and towns in search of Quranic education, known as Al-Majirchi. They are most times left to fend for themselves and often become vulnerable. This is what Jamila Abubakar stood against when, after a bitter divorce, her husband decided to take two of her underage children, Muhammad and Uzairu, to the same Al-Majiri school she dreaded. She dragged her husband, Maling Isa, to the Sharia court, where her husband was ordered to bring the children back. The court gave her custody of the children, including an infant who is barely 2. He was directed by the Sharia court to pay a monthly feeding allowance of 6,000 naira to Jamila, and in the last 3 months, her ex-husband only gave the children 500 naira. At present, Jamila Abubakar, with the help of her eldest son Uzairu, hawk children's clothes and brooms to eke a living. Despite the burden of raising her 3 sons and supporting her mum, who is a widow, Jamila says her greatest dream was to witness the day her sons will graduate from the university.
There is no progress in life today without a well-rounded education. That's why I insist on getting them back.
For Uzairu and Muhammad, the whole scenario seems to be an oblivious battle. When they are not in school, they find the company of their friends exciting. This judgment by the Sharia court, Islamic clerics say, has clearly reiterated the strategic place of a woman in Islamic jurisprudence.
The Sharia, more especially in the Maliki school of law, the woman is the right person to take custody of the children when in case of divorce between her and the husband. If she is not around, maybe she is going to remarry, and now her family, more especially her mother, if she's around, she is the one who is now going to take care of those children.
Thanks for that, Mohammed. The economic and socio-cultural ties between the people of Kano and the Chinese community in the state was further strengthened when the Emir of Kano, Malam Muhammad Sanusi II, turbaned Mike Zhang of Aswalikin Chinese in Kano. Shewa Adamu reports on the prestigious turbaning.
On the U Report link and be the first to know by simply clicking on any of the links.